1, 2, 3, 4.
There are times I wonder if I'm really alone. There are times I wonder if I'm true. There are times when I feel alone and I'm full roam. There are times I feel alone with you. You are enough of you. And there's always a love for you.
Sometimes I wonder if I'm real or if I'm seen.
I see everything, you are enough for me. You are enough for you.
It was rocky for a little bit. I think my parents are lesbian and like have had relationships with people that like present their gender differently than maybe like they were expected to, or whatever you want to call it, like whether or not that be like cisgender or transgender people. They were like aware of that, but most of their friends and family were cisgender. And one of my moms had similar like experiences in her like going to college, where she was like exploring where on different spectrums she was like felt most comfortable, and like in first telling them, one of my moms was more confused than the other, and my other mom understood it but like had decided something different, like that it meant something different for her, had explored similar feelings but kind of like went a different direction, and kind of wanted that in me too a little bit, so that was a little bit interesting to like navigate with them. But I think it took them a little bit to understand. They read a lot of books and like tried to understand like what was happening and like how that could and should affect them or shouldn't affect them, and like that was an interesting. I think that they did a lot of that work on their own. They talked about me, but they didn't want to like put that on me to explain to them.
So that is my relationship with my family and my gender identity. It's something that I haven't actually been super open with them about. My mom asked me recently if I was trans, and I was like, that's a conversation that we're gonna have, but not yet, because we just didn't, anyway, that the time didn't allow for it at the moment. But they've noticed that I'm dressing like less femme, like, less like a woman, and so they're like commenting on that a little bit, but I think overall they'll be like accepting. I just don't know like how honest that I will be with them, like, and how comfortable I feel like that, because I feel for me sometimes that I like to keep bits of this to myself. It feels more empowering that way, so we'll see how it goes.
My gender has affected my relationship with my family a lot in a way that, as far as my mom and my brother, my youngest brother, go, I have this massive support system. I told my little brother that, hey, I came out to him thinking that because he was my boy, and I was terrified to tell him, and he looks at me and he goes, oh good, I have a big brother. And that's what I got. And 2 weeks later, he's like, by the way, I'm gay. And I'm like, yes! And I told my mom, and originally I told my mom that I was, I came out as lesbian, and by the way, Mom, I like girls. And she's like, oh good, you're not gonna get pregnant. And then I come out as a boy, and my mom goes, oh good, you're not gonna get any other girls pregnant. And that's what I got. And then, so that was awesome. My mom raised me as, she was a single mom. My biological dad, actually, that side of my family completely rejected me. And they told me that if I was actually going to go through with this and I was going to be I was going to choose this life, then I needed to lose my last name. I needed to not be a part of their life. And then I started transitioning, and for whatever reason, my very redneck dad, the logic in his head clicked. And now I'm his son. And he's like, yay, I have a son, and you've got family, and you're a dad, and I'm proud of you. And I'm like, you're really weird, but that's okay. So yeah, it's I don't really have a relationship with him because he didn't quite get it, and he's still angry that I did this, but he's angry that he lost his kid, but he's happy that he has a son. And yeah, so it's been interesting, my family.
I think they're relieved that I identify as male. My given family is like, it would be harder for them if I happened to be a trans person and I wanted to transition. I think that would be a lot more difficult. I don't know why. You know, we all have to figure out where we stand, and I happen to be comfortable in the male realm, and I think I want to be male because I want to be able to convince other males that it's all okay, like everything is fine. You know, that this gender spectrum stuff. My family, my mom especially, she's the one who's like, so if you're getting married, like, which one of you gonna wear the woman colors? I'm like, Mom, there's no woman colors. Like, colors are colors. And Mom, there's no like giving a bride away, you know, like we're both men, and even if we were both women, you know, it would be the same, Mom. And she's just like, oh, well, okay. And then she'll come back with another question like, well, you have long hair now. Do you think you feel more like a girl? I'm like, Mom, no. Boys can have long hair too. It's interesting to like say that to her and have my like 5-year-old niece be like, duh.
My gender has affected my relationship with my family, well, at least with my immediate family, not to an extreme sense. They still tell me that they love and support me, and they've been there for me. They do have difficulties respecting my pronouns. They're learning, and they're letting me teach them, which I really appreciate, letting me correct them with that. And then also having a problem with me changing my name. The name that I have now is not my birth name, and that was really difficult for my mom to accept, but she knew that it made me really happy to be called Alec and to be able to have a choice in that. And so she went along with it because she knew how happy it made me. That is my immediate family. That's basically just like me, my mom, and my bro. But like my dad and my extended family definitely have had some difficulties with it. They do not like to call me by the name that I have chosen, and they do not like to respect my pronouns or have even a conversation about gender. They're very much telling me that it makes them uncomfortable, so they don't want to talk about it. So with them, it's affected it a little bit. I can't say that I've had any really outright, I'm not going to talk to you and I'm very angry about this. I'm fortunate in that. I know that a lot of people have gone through that, and I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry that that's the culture that we live in. But now it's mostly just either being shunned or, hey, I don't really know what's going on, but I'm going to try.
My gender has affected my relationship with my given family. More recently than not, a lot of my family took up religion, and then that's kind of where we butt heads, is I don't think they intentionally did it, and like a lot of them I had to let go myself for my own mental health, and I don't really know if they realize that or not, or, but yeah, they didn't accept me. I mean, they just kept calling me like by my, previous name and gender and everything that I had asked them not to, and it just came to the point where I had to like wean out the ones that were damaging, were pulling me down instead of the ones that were helping me lift myself up. And I essentially ended up building my own little family, and I have my support system that I need now, and it works out. You just kind of have to put in your effort to surround yourself with the people who love you for who you are, not who they want you to be.
Keeping part of my gender identity and like my expression in that way to myself or to like close people that I can relate with and talk about it with, it just feels really good. It feels really grounding, especially because it's so much going on in my head and body, so much that I'm working through constantly, daily, through my art, through journaling, through all these different means that I'm trying to like survive through it, and so I think holding on to those parts that I'm like having these epiphanies over it's better for me because I don't want to explain myself. I don't feel like I need to, you know? And I also think it's so personal, and there's so much weight to it. There's so much like that goes into how I feel about my gender, like historically, when we think about like women in this nation, you know, all these things that historically have meaning to like how I present, how I'm able to present, how other people are. Like, there's so much to it. And to explain all of that as a background, to then even begin to talk about my gender identity with someone that has no knowledge of that would be so emotionally exhausting. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna tuck that in. And it's not like I'm ashamed or feel guilty about doing that. I think it's more like self-preservation.